All right, welcome to the Family Alpha Podcast. Today we've got our first guest, which is Cortes. You guys all know who he is. He doesn't really need an introduction. Craig and I, this is our first, tag team on a guest post, and the topic of the day is going to be dating single moms. So, Craig, how you doing?
Excellent, man. Looking forward to this topic here, and I've never dated a single mom, so I can only give some of my outside perspectives. I'd be curious to hear what Alexander's perspectives are as well, being I believe a single guy, a little bit younger, still in the dating scene. So yeah, look forward to the conversation.
Me too, man. It started with a tweet, which expanded to us talking about AJ's Periscope on the subject. And you know what? We figured there's a lot more to cover than 280 characters. There's a lot of aspects to dating single moms that when you only say one tweet, you don't capture the whole picture of what's going on. So we figured we'd hash it out. So AJ, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Good to be on here with you guys, gentlemen.
Excellent. So let's kick it off. I've never dated the single mom. Craig's never dated the single mom. AJ, have you ever dated the single mom?
Very briefly. Where I live right now is very suburban, so there's a lot of single mothers. And I also, being in the ballet world, I meet a lot more young people than I think would be typical of, I guess your average male. So I've met a lot of women who are single mothers where their kids are, they're raising them as a single parent. The dating scene for single mothers, the reason why I kind of brought up my own Periscope, it's a topic that's very easy to dismiss offhand. So you can say these women fucked up, they fucked the wrong guy, they got prego, sucks for them. Now they're going to cuck some guy, XYZ. But having known many single mothers, also my own family, the vast majority of them, I'd say probably 90%, it wasn't their plan to be a single mom. There's an aspect of this. There's an aspect of the there's an aspect of the manosphere where it's very easy to critique feminism, femininity in general. It's easy. There's a lot to critique. At the same time, there's not always an inflection where men look at their own role in this. And the general trend of the single moms that I've known across so many years is, like I said, they didn't want to be single moms, but they got pregnant by men who were not prepared to be fathers or wanted to be with them, but upon the prospect of having to fulfill a parental role, they completely cut out. And obviously you could say that's their fault, and it is their fault. At the same time, I think it indicates this state of society where you have a large generation of men who are wholly unprepared to be paternal just in general. And subsequently, the sexual marketplace, the interactions, that's not taken seriously, the risks of, let's say, unprotected sex, or what if you do get a girl pregnant? I guess the assumption is, well, I'll just abort it, or, I don't know. And then when the consequences do arise where the kid is on the way, you have this epidemic of women, they're raising their children by themselves, but you also have this epidemic of men who they don't have the capacity to be a father in the first place.
I agree with your initial point, especially where there is an entire population. There's a group of, out there on the sphere that just completely dismiss it. Like, no, they're bad people. They're all hoes and they're all sluts. And that's why they're a single mom. And not a single other factor is taken into that. So when another person says, well, maybe I don't recommend, a single guy who's up and coming, he's not established, he doesn't really know what he wants to do, but, he likes this girl. And, the recommendation that I've given is, you don't really want to go out and start dating single moms because of, but as soon as I say that sentence, as soon as that leaves my mouth, people are attacking, say, you're dismissing them, you're saying they're sluts. That's not what I'm saying. That's not even what I'm implying. What I'm saying is, and you touched on this with, the roles that come with having a child. A lot of these guys that are coming up, they're not ready to dedicate that time. That is a huge time requirement. If you have a woman who has a child, that child, and let's say the father's not in the picture, that child's her world. Right now, she's working to support that child. She's working to ensure that that child isn't, held back in any way because of the lack of a father figure in the family. So that's her number one priority. And here comes, Mr. Stud, and he's like, hey, I want to go out. I want to experience the world. I want to go, let's travel. Let's go do this. Let's go out late. And she's like, well, I can't. Well, I can't. I've got this. Well, I can't. Well, maybe that's not something he's ready to take on. But because I said I don't recommend, single guys go out and date single mothers, that doesn't mean I don't think any man could find a single mother. One of the things that Pat Stedman brought up was, well, a divorced man with children, they might be a great click. I'm like, I had never thought of that. I'm glad we're having the discussion. That's something I hadn't thought of. And then, what about a man who maybe he's barren, or what if you've got like a 40-year-old man who it just never worked and he met the right girl, and, that's a role he wants to fill. I'm a guy on the internet. If I say single guys shouldn't date single mothers, you know, that is, you don't take my advice as black and white. You should be able to apply it to your life. And there are certain situations, I guess, where some men may find that role fitting to them.
Yeah, there's a spectral quality to this. Pat did bring up a good point, and this also, it gets neglected as a whole, that different stages of life, I talked about this with Rollo earlier, different stages of life bring different levels of maturation. Yeah, aside from the sexual market value of a girl who's 29 realizing that she's not as hot as she was when she's 21, there's also the factor too that as you get older, your maturation, whether you're male or female, that does change. And yeah, a single mother is probably not going to be your primary prospect for dating. But it does happen from time to time, because it does happen, where a guy, like you said, he was in, let's say, his late 30s or 40s. Maybe he did want to have kids, or maybe he's at a stage of life where he has financial stability and he meets a woman that is younger. And it's not such an untenable situation to think, you know, maybe I will step into that role because I can, and because there is some sense of appeal to it. And at the same time, too, as well, I can't speak for all men, obviously. I can speak for myself, that regardless of, you know, the single moms I've known, that I have, you know, sort of briefly had, you know, interactions with, there is a paternal instinct, I think, within some men where you want to take care of a kid, even if it's not necessarily your own. And I don't mean necessarily like in the motherly sense where like all children are my children, but there's a protective quality to it, where it in my experience, it was not so beyond me where I realized, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to be with this girl long term, but it's not an outright, it was not a sense of disgust where like, oh, your child that I don't want. I like the kids, I did. Yeah, and there was an aspect to me where like, yeah, I would take care of the child were it right in that situation. I didn't put myself in the situation, but I would. So, I mean, I guess it circles back to that point, like, you know, where are you at in life as a man where, yeah, if you're, you know, like you said, young coming up, I wouldn't suggest dating single moms. Their requirements for what they need are not going to be your requirements for what you need. I had a buddy with that recently who I referenced in a tweet, the guy that's been on like a post-breakup struggle kick for 6 months straight now about what like real women are. But he was dating a single mom for a period of time. And he had one-itis, thought she was his soulmate. And he's a young guy, I think like 27. Wait, I take that back. I think he might be in his 30s, but like his first serious relationship. Was selfish without realizing it. He fell in love with this girl. She has a daughter. It came down to, hey, I want you to, you know, move here because this is my career. He's works in the medical field. She told him no, like, I'm not doing that because I'm not going to disrupt my kids' school, and I like where I live and I'm able to support myself. When it came to brass tacks, she broke up with him. And he's been on basically like a soy-tastic struggle kick for half a year now, which I pretty much unfriended him at this point. But it was, the conversation I'd have with them is interesting to me where I asked him, like, did you really expect her to put you first over her child? He's like, I guess I did. I'm like, that you were an idiot then.
Exactly.
So Alexander, you do want to have children one day, right? I think I've heard you say that before. You want to be a father. Do you have any reservations on that? I mean, as far as starting a family with a woman who's already heavily invested in another man's flesh and blood and will be tied to another man for the rest of her life?
I wouldn't, I mean, never say never. It's not within my criteria where anyone that I would, I do want to have kids. My criteria for whom I date now, I guess seriously, they're younger than me by at least 5 years. I don't date women that are older. I don't date women that have kids, with any sense of, intention. As far as like having doubts about fatherhood, no. I mean, that I never have had. One of the few things, I guess, one of the things I've always been very confident about is my ability to be a father. Not having been one, but it's just something that's always been within me, that I always had a paternal instinct from a young age. So I've never doubted that.
That's rare, man. I think most guys are on the other end of the spectrum. They're terrified of having another life completely dependent upon them.
It seems like that. I don't know. I don't know what I could directly attribute it to, but I've always had underconfidence in my capacity to be a parent. Just do. And I've always been very, very at ease with children. That's the other thing. Kids have never been something that are, I don't know, like mysterious to me. There's not a mystique to children that is fearful anyway. I've always been extremely with kids.
So when it comes to I'm sorry, Hunter. When it comes to a choice, though, what would your decision-making process be? If you had the same woman without a child, right, and the same woman with a child, I assume that just from a choice perspective, it would be a better decision for your long-term situation to have the woman not have a child from another man.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Yeah, I mean, like I said, that's. I could say it's a red flag. I mean, at the same time, I have met some younger women where they have like a kid because they got pregnant mistake and the 18, 19-year-old situation. They're actually pretty phenomenal girls, but guess what? They got a kid now. But they do, the interesting thing is sometimes, yeah, I mean, this is a small group, obviously, like I'm speaking like for minutia, but there are those women where they had a kid young and they actually are, yeah, I'd consider excluding that factor. They've got all the great qualities that would make a phenomenal wife. They are they're independent in the proper way. They're very feminine. They know how to take care of a child. They want to be supportive of a man because they realize the necessity of it. They almost got like red pilled by the experience in the worst way possible. That's one of the ironic things about for the women that are single moms at times. When I talk to them, they kind of got the feminism pedestal that they had that completely just got destroyed because they realized very harshly that shit, I need a guy to be able to support me. I really can't do this by myself. I know that one parent is not better than two, and I wish there was someone that was in my life who I could be that feminine basis support for. But by the sake of me having a kid by somebody else, I'm going to repel probably the vast majority of men. It is that's a curse in that fashion.
So you were talking about knowing early on about, knowing that you'd be a great dad. And I've talked about that a few times on podcasts. Coming up as a young guy, I either wanted to be Rambo or Conan the Barbarian. And I always pictured having a bunch of sons running around and my wife's in a loincloth. And that was my future. Like as a young man, like I knew I wanted the family and to do that. And I agree. There are definitely exceptions to the rule. And a lot of people like to focus on those exceptions when they talk about this is the rule. Well, you're talking about this group of, there are I'll make it up, 5% that are, solid women, submissive women. They had that early mistake. So be it. They want to support you. They'll be complimentary to your life. And you may pass on those because you're just going to see the child and you're like, all right, whatever. But then there are also the majority to where they're looking for the provider. And that's why when it comes down to, if you are going to date a single mother, there are so many like check marks you really got to go through before you fully commit. I mean, and it starts with the woman. Obviously you do the same vetting that you would do normally with any woman. Is this somebody I want to be with at all? Kid or not? Can I get along with this person? Is she a good, tag team partner with me? If life's getting rough, can I slap her hand and she's in, help, beating the crap out of whatever is kicking my ass? But I mean, then you've got how many kids does she have? How old are those kids? What time requirement comes with those kids? Is she financially stable or is she looking for somebody to help her support these children? And then, you hear all the horror stories about, I helped raise this kid and then she went out and she cheated on me and she found somebody else. And I was that kid's dad, from a child up till he was a teenager, and how could she do this to me? Yeah. Well, you made the role of being the father more so than the role of being the man in the relationship. And that comes down to another reason why you can't really send a guy into that situation because they want to save it. They want to be the man. They want to be the dad. And I come at it. So I was adopted. Mm-hmm. So it was me. And then my mom was a single mom. So that was a red flag for my dad. And I call him my dad. He's not my biological father, but for all purposes, he is my dad, Mm-hmm. So they dated, whatever. And then they had my brother and sister. Well, then my mom committed suicide when I was 6. And now as my dad stuck with 2 kids. And I'm like, looking at it now as an adult male, I'm like, why did you date the single mom? Like she brought all this crap into your life. Like, that was a red flag. And I love you to death. You're a great dad for me, but that really screwed you over. So I have a stepmom now. She's awesome. My dad's good for anybody listening that cares. But in that window, looking at it from my perspective as to where I'm at in life, I'm like, that's something you got to watch out for, man. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I mean, hypergamy doesn't care. I mean, I'll argue against my own point. There's also the factor too, where single mothers, you have women where like it often is like a classical sort of like alpha fuck beta buck situation as Roald deems it. It's a girl that she got pregnant by the hot guy who he was never going to be around. Now she wants the provider guy. And I have seen that happen more than once where because men have that natural inclination, as you said, to save a situation, it's very easy to play the damsel in distress role. Very easy. And it's very easy to tell the guy, you're such a good guy for doing this. And oh my God, you're my hero. And it fills your ego. It does. Yeah. And women know that. So yeah, I had a, how many guys have I known in that situation? I had a good friend of mine recently, different guy, but he was in like a long-term relationship for 7 years. Woman had like woman had a daughter. He basically like raised this kid from 5 to 7, and then she cheated on him. But like he was the good provider, and she still wanted the fun of being with a guy that was the thrilling man. And it's easy to fall into that role for some guys. At the same time, like guys oftentimes they don't, like you said, they got vet. You don't know better, especially for guys that let's say are younger, even in the 20s, even in the 30s. a woman knows what to tell you to make you trust her. Yeah, they do. Oftentimes when there are single mothers, they have they have the feminine wiles, so to speak, the guile and the wile, where they know what to say, and they know if they can wrap you up, that they can secure you for the situation. And if you don't see that coming, well, then you get stuck in that situation of you are the cuck. And then if she decides to stray later on, I'm like, well, yeah, you got burned, double entendre. Or not double entendre, you got burned twice.
I noticed too that I think faith plays a little bit of a role in this, because you talk about, I've been challenged for only having 2 kids. You got to save the West. They're like, oh, all these kids are being raised without fathers. You've got to save these children.
Mm-hmm.
A real man would support a single mom. A real, and it's always these women who are telling me what a real man would be, or these men who are, the gender traitor white knights telling me this is what a real man would do. And I'm looking, I'm like, you didn't do that. You didn't do that. You didn't do that. You're telling me to do it. That's a lot easier to dictate my life and tell me how I should live it, so you can virtue signal, oh, a real man would do this. I see a lot of guys who haven't done it telling me that's what a real man would do.
Oh, yeah, there's always going to be those. There's always going to be those guys. There's going to be those women. I mean, women. A female definition of what a real man is will always be defined by what a woman wants from a man. So a real man is whatever a woman wants to fulfill her needs at any given time. Pretty much. That's just how that goes. So yeah, if you're a single mom, a real man would raise your child that's not his. Of course he would. Yeah, at the same time, like you said, you got the white knight guys where they're not in a relationship with single moms, but they will suit guys that are very, I guess I'll be generic and say soy. Guys that are that way, they will suit the definition of masculinity to fit whatever it is that they are. So, if they're fucking schlubby and out of shape, but I guess they're smart and they get paid. A real man, it's not about your body and your physique. That's for that's for shallow assholes. It's about being a good guy. Or the guys that have been, they're men that have been marriages for 25 years. Maybe they're browbeaten and their wife hasn't touched their dick since 2001. But a real man stays by his family. Even if his wife is bitching him out and he's, sleeping on the couch. That's what a real man would do. No, that's what you do. That's what you do because you are bitched out and you have made yourself a coward and you've been emasculated. And to admit to yourself that your ego is built upon sand and fog would fucking destroy you.
It's fucking raw. I like it.
Well put. Yeah, so I tweeted, I guess it was yesterday, Alexander, about my thoughts on the matter. And what I love about Twitter is the more black and white you get, the more pedantic Twitter gets, right? So it makes it a lot of fun, which, is exactly what Hunter experienced. But, I posted that, and I had thought a little bit about this. I feel like if I were a single man, if I were to get divorced and had my pick of the litter, if you will, I don't think single mothers would be high up on my list of choices, for all the reasons we just talked about, right? The investment that's required, I almost look at it like you're buying a used car that you're going to have to pay more for than the brand new model, right? Because there's going to be more investment involved to get the same results. At least, you're going to have to invest in the child. You're going to have to invest in her. You have that competition of her baby daddy or whatever. But I feel like for the majority of guys, again, talking black and white here, there are always exceptions, but I feel like the majority of guys who make that decision, they make that decision from a position of scarcity, from a mindset of scarcity. They see this woman, and even though maybe they don't like the idea that she's invested in another man and she has a child, they don't feel like they can do any better. And so it's more of a kind of settling. I was curious what your thoughts might be on that.
Well, I mean, that's a good point. You have a situation, too, where for some guys, it kind of, this goes, this begs the question of, like, what is a man's mental origin point? If you lead yourself and you are, if you lead yourself and your sense of reality is your own gravity, then you'll have that awareness that you have options. A guy will believe that he has options. If you're coming at it from that sort of, the female primacy perspective where, you're so lucky to be with this woman and you're so lucky that she chose you. This, this kind of language where it basically puts the girl first. Where the belief that women choose men, which I don't agree with. Yeah, I don't agree with. I'm not going to say that it's men that choose women entirely, but there's this belief that's been conditioned into men, even for guys that claim to be very woke and all that bullshit. But there's this belief that women choose men, that women are the ones that control sex, that women are the ones that they have the selection, they have the executive decision, the selection process. And they don't. They don't, because if you don't give a woman attention, she has no one to choose. Men approach it from this conditioning, the social conditioning standpoint of you're going up to a girl and I hope I'm going to say the right things and she's going to accept me. I'm not even going to say that's beta. That is emasculation. you have put her in the superior position that's already by default. So you could learn, and I've seen this with the PUA guys sometimes, where for all the game that they learn, for all of the psychological scenarios, for all the ability to get laid, they still put the girl first, because in their mind that she's still the one that's choosing them, even though they've rigged the situation, so to speak, in their favor. So when you have these guys where they're viewing it as a standpoint of, oh, I'm so lucky to be with this girl, it's not even settling. It's just that point where you've conditioned yourself to think like this is the best you can get. Yep. Yeah, and there's a lot of guys like that, where they approach their relationships that way. They approach women that way in general, even if they claim they're confident. Where I'm with her, and I can't believe that she of all the guys she could be with, it's me. And you see this even in marriage vows, where the self-deprecation of guys, they'll put themselves down in an attempt to sort of somehow raise the woman up, as I talked about earlier with Rollo, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work because you're making yourself inferior to the female. Which maybe she wants that. Maybe she wants that because you know what? Now she's got you, by the balls, and you're now in the position where you're going to give her what she wants, which is great, good for her. But you're not going to be in a good relationship long term.
Nope.
And your frame's already been compromised from the outset. And it's like, if you think about that from any other position, right? If you're going into any kind of a negotiation, which, let's be honest, that's what a relationship is, right? If you go into any negotiation, if you've already seeded that you have to have that one thing, you've already lost. You've already given up all the leverage that you had because you're not willing to walk away.
Yeah, exactly. And I realize it's a hard thing to convey to guys, because for most men, they're just insecure with women, where, even like the prospect of, going out, like, and talking to a woman, like not even pickup, but just, like the approach of like, hey, go talk to that girl. What if I get rejected? Who gives a shit? What if she's not hot enough for you to talk to?
You're in the same place you're in right now.
Yeah, I know. I have this policy. Yeah, I have this policy that makes my friends laugh, but it's true. Like I only date 8s. I'm like, if I'm not going to talk to you if you're not attractive enough to talk to. I'm picking you. You're not picking me. You're with me. I'm not with you. And for a lot of guys, there's criticism. Well, you're a good-looking guy. Blah 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 blah. Like, that's bullshit. Because anyone can get themselves in a position where they have their own gravity, they have their own frame, and they get to choose. And for the men that put themselves in that position, you are a lot more successful with women, whether it be sex or whether it be with relationships, because you're the stabilizing force. You're not making chaos the thing that leads.
One of the other responses I saw on Twitter, Alexander, that a guy made was basically dating a single mother is paying for her past mistakes, or paying for her ex-husband or ex-boyfriend's past mistakes. Do you think that's fair?
I mean, in a way, yes, but again, it's just like a lazy criticism. Like, everybody knows that. Or maybe everybody doesn't. But I mean, it could be. I mean, it certainly could be. You could say, like, yes, you absolutely, you're paying for her mistakes. Maybe not. That's just the moral judgments are things I have an issue with. Is because it's very punitive. You can make them. I could say from a standpoint of, let's just say, like, let's make it not, let's say, take them like the moralizing out of it. I'm like, from a relationship dynamic, is a relationship with a single mother, a single guy likely to work out long term? Let's go through the reasons. No, probably not. Am I going to tell you that, guess what, you're paying for all of her ex's mistakes, or you somehow are the I guess you are the sacrifice? If you want to see it that way. I mean, at the same time, like, if that's your attitude, then you shouldn't need to worry about single mothers in the first place, since you're not going to be paying them any attention.
Yeah. I think from a pragmatic perspective, decisions have consequences, right? And that decision, those consequences sometimes permeate on through the rest of somebody's life, and that is one that can happen to. But I agree with you. I mean, to make a moral judgment out of that, I think is a little far-reaching.
Yeah, well, the thing is, too, I've also known single dads where they're like fathers that have shared custody of their kids, and in their case, they're not with the mother because the mother's just a whack job. That kind of goes untalked about. Honestly, I don't know if it's an epidemic so much as single mothers, but like, obviously, there was a guy that was in the picture at some point or another. But I've known a lot of men where they're single dads, so to speak, where it's like, I had a child with this woman, and she was a wreck, or she cheated on me, or for whatever reason, or the relationship did not work out. So for their sake and the sake of their kid, like, they're not with her now. But now they're a man. They're a single dad that has a kid, and they have to deal with the mother. But they also want to date. So different scenario there.
Yep.
So I think I'm back in action.
Cool.
So, what I was trying to say was, you were talking about dating 8s and having a standard. And something that I recommend to a lot of guys is when you shift your modes to being outcome independent, so you're not worried about what happens if you talk to that girl. it doesn't matter. Something will happen. Whether you come out on top or bottom, you win. And then if you have a standard, like setting, I talk to 8s, nobody less. That's how you get to the point where you talked about, they don't get to select you. You're taking that from them. It's the same thing with respect. It's the same thing with submission. It's the same thing with, selection in a relationship. You are taking that from people. You don't give them a choice not to respect you. You're saying you're going to, I'm commanding you to respect me because I'm not going to accept anything less. So you're not going to be in my life if you don't maintain the standard that I've set. You've got to hit all these blocks. And if you're not there, I'll just walk away. I don't need you. And I do think that they call it the thirst, the thirst of man, it's higher on the side of men because they've been conditioned, as you said, they want it. You're like, oh, if I just have the attention of any woman, I'm lucky. And you look at a lot of there's YouTube videos, upon YouTube videos about wives just like beating the shit out of their husbands or just totally emasculating them and recording it and putting it out there. And you're like, at what point did you, when did she take your balls? At what point did you decide that was an acceptable behavior to where you're not going to say enough, I'm out. And it's one of those things that when you're dating or when you're looking for women, you don't have to save the woman. You may see a great girl and she's got a great kid, but if you're not ready to commit your life to that child, or if you're not ready to at least put an effort into possibly making that something long-term, you have to think about the child side of this as well, which is something a lot of people I don't think do. There's a kid who's going to latch on to you. That kid's he doesn't have a dad. You're filling the dad role, and you can't stay with a woman because you like her kid. That doesn't work. That's not going to work. It's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, that is.
So, there's a lot more to it than just deciding on the woman as well, which is, if you start interacting with that kid and you start building a relationship with that kid, either you're going to pull something from the kid or you're going to stay for the wrong reasons. And that's another aspect to this. When we talk about all the variables, I couldn't cover that in a tweet, but that's something else when I'm saying, don't keep going in and out of these women's lives. Cause I picture that kid who's like a guy's in, a guy's gone, a guy's in, a guy's gone. Why don't I have a dad? It's going to wreck them.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, that I would, I was talking about Craig or like the moralizing, that I can make like a moral argument for where, on the standpoint of you're going to date a single mom and you're going to like play dad for a while and then bounce. And like, that's highly dishonorable. Yeah. It just is. There's no way you can say, I mean, you can say, well, I made a decision for me and, it wasn't working. I'm like, yeah, but you caused, arguably caused like long-term lifelong damage to like, what, a 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 year, whatever the hell. And that's going to adversely affect them. And it didn't have to be that way.
And that's the dilemma, right? So then you're in that relationship. All right, do I leave and damage this child, right? Or stay and be in a relationship that I know is not going to be healthy in the long run? So. Yeah,
but that's what happened to the buddy of mine where he was like with that woman for 7 years, and the reason he stayed put with it, he's like, I wanted the kid to turn out okay, and I really loved this kid. I'm like, dude, that's 7 years, and then to get burned at the end where she wasn't faithful, and then now he's like completely out of the kid's life where he's like, and he feels regretful now because it did feel like his child after so long.
Yeah. Also, the med school buddy of yours, the same thing. You're dating her and. It's like mentally, what'd you call it? The maturation of masculinity.
Yeah.
So his masculine nature of I'm going into this and that child is also, I'm going to make it a priority to where he wouldn't have asked the question, hey, uproot your child and take it with me. He would have already been aware if that child is the first thing, happening, he's not going to ask that question. He's not even going to lead like, hey, let's uproot your kid. But if that was his top priority, he would not have gotten burned. The wife would have not, or not wife, but I say wife, I'm married. That's how I think. Yeah. His girl, would not have, left him and said, I'm not into this. Like, commit to me or end it because I've got a child. And had he known that, he wouldn't have, whatever he's doing right now, crying in his soy sauce.
Yeah, literally. Well, the irony is he's a really fit jack guy. So a couple of you asked me, like, would you tell him to deadlift? I'm like, one, I don't necessarily mean deadlift seriously as a way to solve your emotional problems. Like that's, like tongue in cheek.
Makes for a good meme, though.
Yeah, it is. But the irony is that in his case, he's like a high-level bodybuilder. Yeah, if you saw this guy, you'd think like he's alpha macho as fuck. He is not. But I mean, I think in his case, like for a lot of guys, he has the I call it like the mommy girlfriend complex. You have generations of men where they've so been conditioned by feminism to answer to women in like in a maternal sense. They want a woman that's going to put them first, but at the same time, they want a woman that's going to tell them what to do. So they want to be the center of attention, but they want to be both the center of attention. They are putting themselves in the subservient position, but then at the same time, they want to feel like the woman is really taking care of them. So it creates this, it's a hyper-realized conflict. You can't have a woman that, looks up to you, who also looks down upon you, who makes you number one in her life, but then also you treat her like she's your mom.
Yeah.
And for a lot of guys today, like when I talk about masculinity, like your sense of masculinity is not developed enough to be in a mature relationship. That's what I mean. Because for a lot of men, that is their relationship with femininity. Maybe you can get fit. Maybe you can, you read the right books. But when it comes down to dealing with women, you treat them, whether you realize it or not, subconsciously, unconsciously, you treat them like they're your mother. And women hate that.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I feel like with the way that we're conditioned today to almost, put women up on a pedestal. I mean, you see these guys that are like, they've pedestalized a woman to such a degree that they're willing to share her with another guy sexually. I mean, I can't even fathom how you get to that point. But I'm trying to remember the point that I was actually the point I was trying to make is that how many guys, because of that conditioning, truly vet that situation and go into it with eyes wide open, like really knowing what they're getting into, really understanding the implications, and not just making an emotional decision, again, most likely from a position of scarcity.
I mean, probably not too many. I mean, that's one of the ironies too to all this stuff is that, women and men, they create a situation where both sexes are very dissatisfied with each other. I've had a lot of female clients, and that's a common criticism. Like, where have all the men gone? With a capital M. I'm like, well, the men are out there, but they don't act like it. You have so many men where they are accustomed and acculturated to trying to interact with women through vulnerability, and their ability to emote and tap into their feminine side, which, it goes back to, women telling men how they should be. But then when they actually go out to date and, meet women, there's a lot of women where I've met a lot of, women that are 30 something, and they're not necessarily single because they're not necessarily single because they were so, how should I say, delusional about their career. That does happen. You do have those women where they put their career first. They presumed Prince Charming would come along, and he didn't. Now they're disappointed. But there's a significant subset of women who they wanted to meet a masculine guy, basically. Like, that was their intention. Like, they whether in their 20s, 30s, like, or in their 20s, they thought they'd meet a guy that had some machismo to him, and let's just say was classically, traditionally masculine. And they never did. Like, they never actually did. And they kept kind of waiting and kept hoping like it's going to happen. And there's factors to that where they didn't look hard enough. Well, you should have dated more people. You had to expand the pool. But at the same time, I realized there's very few men around. It's very uncommon. I say this from my own standpoint for the women that I dated, even if briefly. There's certain things that are always a shock to them, like a welcome shock, though. Like, oh wow, you made plans for dinner. That classical scenario. Where are we going to eat? We're going to eat here. If you don't like that place, let's go here because you like this place. Like that alone, I've had on so many dates. It's a literal like, oh my God, you're the first guy ever to tell me that. Yeah, this is someone that's 25. I'm thinking she's 25. Let's just assume she's been dating since she's 15 with boys, men. She's never had a guy actually take the lead on fucking anything.
That's insane.
So then I extrapolate that out to like society at large. I'm like, yeah, there's probably a lot of women where they're not necessarily single because of their delusions, entirely. They're single because guess what? Like the market for men, it's shitty. It's really, really, really shitty. It's probably, I told Roll this, like we're talking about, it's probably like almost a power law ratio. It's probably like 90-10, you could say like emasculated to masculine. There's not that many masculine guys. There's just not. And women, they do, and the irony to also the feminist environments, women having emasculated the majority of men, it makes them want the masculine men that much more.
It's that rare unicorn bouncing around,
Yeah, I don't know what you'd call it in guy terms. Obviously,
yeah, exactly. I was trying to think of like a dragon. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like the male dragon. It's like, oh my God, yeah, it's like the beast, like, oh my God, like I'm a beast. But guess what? There's still a few left. From the guys that do exist that are that, guess what? You got the pick of anything that you want. Yeah. So you are even now less likely to get tied down by one girl because you realize, oh shit. Yeah, I realized that recently. I'm like, I'll be 29 this year. I'm like, I can literally have anyone I want. I don't have, there is no such thing as settling. Nothing.
Yep. It's by choice.
Yeah. So what's my incentive to get married right now? And, oh my God, I'm so lucky that I'm with you and you chose me. No, that's a bunch of bullshit. That dissipated in the mist a long time ago.
And that's the message that we've got to get out to guys. And that's the message that I'm hoping stuff like this is like, hey, dial your shit in. And then now you have a choice. Now you're in a position of power to where you can select those instead of being selected, as we were just discussing.
Yeah, the inner game, outer game. I mean, it starts with the inner game. It starts like it's the mindset. And then if you do that, I think, for a lot of guys, you really have to fix your relationship with femininity. Yeah, that's the other factor. Like if your only model of feminine masculine is like your relationship with your mom, like you are fucked. Well, that's the thing, because I talk to a lot of guys, we get these questions about, I got one today that was literally like, it's one of those questions that's just like, how do you even answer? It's like, hey bro, like I saw your tweet about not approaching women in the gym. So like, how do I approach women, hold frame, get them to like me, recognize social cues, say the right things, be charming? It's like, basically, how do I even be?
Man.
It's one of those questions. I'm like, I don't even know where to begin with that. Because I realize on a certain level that you have guys, they've never socialized in a healthy way with women at all. Like they just haven't. They've either, been super quiet beta, their dad was bitched out and isn't a role model. They don't know any guys that they could say are kind of, alpha to show them the way. So they have no model to look at. They don't. They're trying. Now they're online. They're kind of trying to find it, but at the same time, it's still very theoretical. And that's why I hit upon the archetype so heavy. I'm like, you have to really start by developing yourself first, and just by the sake of doing that, it will have a larger magnitude of effect, where it will start to change the relationship that other people have with you, without you needing to target that specifically. If you get in shape, if you try to lead yourself, you get fit, you have a mindset of like aggression, positive aggression, you're going to start noticing that people respond to you differently. And then you can start building upon that. But only then.
It's so much more true today too, because guys are, I think you say this a lot, Alexander. You say there are a lot of males out there, right? But there aren't very, very many men. And because of that, to stand out is not hard. You don't have to be this hyper, caricature of what it means to be masculine in order to stand out and to draw the attention of women and to draw their desire. To be in the top 20% of men, it doesn't take near as much today as it did 50, 100 years ago. And that's a message that I try to tell guys a lot. It's like, look, you have it pretty easy today. If you just start to work on yourself and stay consistent for a little bit of time, you're going to quickly ascend the ladder. And guys underestimate that, I think.
Men underestimate themselves. They also overestimate women. I mean, I've had same thing. I've had female clients tell me that, where just the most basic shit. Like if I just had a guy that could say hello to me without fumbling, that'd be so nice. I mean, just this remedial level stuff. It's not as if I mean, these are women where they got rid of the shopping list of I want a 6'5" Adonis that makes $250,000 a year and drives. No, it's literally they're female standards to fall into this level of if I could have a guy that's healthy looking, has a car and a job, and literally just can talk to me without sounding like a fool, that'd be really nice. Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of older female friends, which that's a whole other subject of discussion as to how that facilitates. I don't believe in men and women being friends, generally speaking. It's not my recommendation that guys go out and make female friends. I have a very outlier personality, obviously, but I had an older female friend that I saw recently for her birthday, and her criteria for a guy now, she's 34. It was literally just I just want a guy that's nice to me. That was just that.
Those 10 things have come down to one. It's just one thing now.
If I could just find a guy that is nice to me and wants to see me regularly. She lives in Los Angeles, so in LA the dating market is you're very much people's number 9 priority.
Is she a semi-attractive woman, Alexander, or is this somebody who has trouble getting the attention of men?
No, she's an attractive girl. She is an attractive girl, but her criteria was literally just that. It's I just want a guy that's nice to me and really actually wants me around in his life. That was it.
Could the bar be lower?
Yeah, that's it. That was it. That's all it was. And I'm talking to her I've known her now for 7-8 years. Yeah, I remember when she was younger, it was I'd like a guy if he could, maybe be at least 5'10", maybe work in this field. No, that's all gone. Just nice to her. Be nice to her and call her. That's it.
Next birthday, she'd be like, "I'll anything, whatever, just somebody." I think it's really, and you're talking about self-worth. I think it's really easy for guys to talk about net worth. Oh, if I could make some money, if I could get a degree, if I had this nice, all these things that really add to the materialistic things that you have. If they could take that same drive to accumulating and, getting shit and then turn that towards their self-worth, investing in themselves, building that confidence. I call it masculine vibrations. That's when a guy walks in the room and you can just feel it. You're like, that dude has his shit together. He doesn't have to speak. He doesn't have to do anything. You just know. And it's because he's sending off that vibe. You can do that when you invest in you, and for every guy you develop for whatever it is, like me developing me is not the same as the two of you developing each other. It's going to be unique to each man, what your interests are, what your goals are, all of that. You start working towards it. As soon as you start putting yourself as, your mental point of origin, everything gets easier. You were talking about, people respond better. That's the vibrations. They feel it. They want to be your friend. They want to help you. They want to be, nice to you. They want to make your life a little bit easier. When you talk to them, your jokes are a little bit funnier. And when you're arguing with somebody, a few more people take your side on the argument. And nothing might have changed at all, except for your shoulders are back and you're speaking from your chest instead of your fucking nose. And, you've said no to a few people, every now and then.
Yeah, guys don't want to invest in themselves, man. Alexander, you sell some products, so I know you've probably gotten some flack for this as well. You start to sell something, and guys will immediately come after you for selling a product that is something that they could invest in to make themselves better. So in your case, do you have other products other than fitness programs?
No, all I got is fitness stuff. I mean, the fitness stuff, like I'm pretty transparent in my business if you really talk about it seriously. The fitness stuff, I started working online because I had nothing else to do. I've kind of shared my story in the emails. I'm like, I had less than $1,000 my name. I had to move home. I'm like, the only thing I'm good at and know how to do that I've had a passion for is I know how to get people physically, developed. Let me make some stuff out of that. Yeah, and it's still what I have now is very bare bones. Like, I don't have landing pages. I don't have a funnel. I don't have a website that's, even where stuff's really listed. It's just like, this program does this program does that. But obviously my marketing is done through the format of, the proliferation. But even that, I remember, I've blocked all the people, but it's like, oh, you're just trying to sell stuff now. I'm like, is there a point to growing a following and telling you to get your shit together and not offering you something? Yeah. And the other thing being, I'm like, you're talking about things that are like, $20, $30.
Yeah.
Women are passionate about men who are passionate about themselves. You don't have to have a sexy sounding career to be attractive to women. You just have to be into yourself and what you're doing. You could be working in tech in a geek field, supposedly, and be a coder. But if you're fucking all about that, like the guys that are really into the crypto and blockchain, if you're all about that and you can have a conversation where that fire comes out of you, women will respond to that. I have seen women respond to literally anything that a guy does that if he's into it. It could be the most boring, pedantic, stupid subject. I've had rants I've gone on about neuroscience, chiropractic bullshit, and I'll look around at the women that are listening, and they're so into it. Do they really give a shit about what I'm talking about? No, but I'm passionate about it, and that's what comes off. And you don't have to have, like Tyler said, you don't have to have net worth to do that. I could get laid when I was broke living out my car because I always had a ferocity of my personality. The same reason, I've emphasized to guys where there is no such thing as a universally attractive man. You're not going to check all the boxes for women. You're not. Whether you're a broke, starving artist, but you're really into your art, that's attractive to some women. Yeah, and then there's also women that are repelled by that, and they want the guy that's in the suit, that's the lawyer, that's high powered. There's same way there's women that are really attracted to guys in the military, and there's women they're not. Same way there's women that are attracted to guys that are, like they're very financially, like they have extreme net worth, and there's women that don't care about that. So you're not going to be universally attracted to all women, but if you want to attract, let's say, the right kind of women or women that will respond to you, you have to be about yourself. You have to be leading yourself. You have to be passionate for yourself. If you lack that, you're going to be trying to mine water out of the Sahara Desert.
Yeah, very few women are going to be attracted to a guy who's not investing in himself. And that was kind of the point I was trying to make. Is I didn't catch this too much until Hunter and I started the Fraternity of Excellence. And I know you were recently promoting, I think, Christian McQueen's online business building program, right? I'm sorry, I don't remember what it's called, but I know you had caught some messages on there about guys who were like accusing you of just trying to sell to them, and we've gotten messages from guys who are like $30 a month to join the Fraternity of Excellence. It's like, you're $30 a month to invest in yourself. Like you're really that worried about $30 a month? You'll go out and spend that in an hour at a bar, right? Wasting your time, wasting your life away. But to buy a product that's going to make you better, you're not willing to invest in it. I'm not bitter over it. I don't care, but it just points to the fact that, guys just don't get it. Like they don't understand the importance of investing in yourself.
Yeah, well, like Ivan says, you can throw people the rope, but they got to get the rope. Like, like the business program I did, it was a $500 program. My college education, I said that, like on YouTube, like I spent like 40 grand in college. I still can't tell you really that it's ever made me any money. That the program that I did with him, like that's paid for me getting a new apartment now. So I'm like, yeah, that was highly worth it. But then I realized too, it's just a man's estimation of money is also his estimation of his own value. If the prospect of buying a book or buying a course, when you're talking about buying a book or buying a course, something that's tens of dollars, maybe it's a few $100s, maybe a gym membership, an online membership. If that's staggering to you to have to do that, I can tell you right off the bat that you are completely fucking undeveloped in all areas of life. Period. You don't value yourself. You don't. You have a broke ass mentality. Period. It does not surprise me. I said that in a tweet where I just, I was just being mean at that point. I'm like, I paraphrase, but it essentially amounts to the fact that, like, if you're a guy with like a broke mentality, you're not willing to invest in yourself, there's a reason you're fucking single. Why is a woman going to want you? You have nothing to offer.
Very well said.
That's with passion, especially, and it's not just women, you can easily just, like you said, have passion. I've told the story of the guy who walks in carrying a Michelob Ultra, 64, or like a Mike's Hard Lemonade, everyone's like, oh, fag, oh, look at that guy, he's drinking the girly drink. But if you own your shit and you're like, fucking say something. Like, this is my drink. I like, my Mike's Hard Lemonade. Nobody's going to mess with you. And then in reality, the group will come to you and be like, yeah, why are you picking on him? Why are you messing with that guy? As long as you own it, nobody's going to mess with you. And I did, but it's the men too. The men need to hear that fire, but they can't just hear it. They've got to take it and apply it to their own lives. And that's kind of been my shtick, is going from hearing it and seeing somebody who's like giving a shit, and you can hear it in their voice. When I did 21Con, I got the first standing ovation, and it's not because I gave a great speech. It's not because I had better content. Christian McQueen was off the fucking chain. It was awesome. He did a fantastic job. Ivan, Ryan, all those guys did great. But the only thing that separated me when I got up there is I completely spoke from the heart. I hadn't really gone through what I wanted to say, so I just let it, like, I bled on that stage. Yeah. And you can just hear I gave a shit. And it's like when they heard that, they're like, oh, we're allowed to, feel this. And even right now as I'm talking about it, you can tell this is something I give a shit about. When I hear you talk, you can hear it. It's in the tone of voice. And some guys will never even hit this tone, this rate of speech, this forest. They put the governor on. They're always very meek and, they're very limited. And that's just, I'm like, man, let it out. You've got a fucking animal inside you. Release the beast.
Yeah, I think Ed, he made a comment about like inflection, where the guys like, men will make their voices higher, but yeah, I don't know. I just thought of that, but I had a question I posed to that young guy the other night. I'm like, he's asking me like, how do I find passion? Blah, blah. I asked him, like, I sent him a video, is there anything you take seriously at all? And I don't mean like, oh, I'm serious, like I want to improve. No, is there anything in life where you have applied all of yourself to it, where you can say that I will take everything that I am and lay it down on the line, whether it be myself, whether it be professional, just something, and what it's like to do that, where you know what it's like to take yourself to an edge. Is there anything? Because if there's not, then again, it doesn't surprise me how you find it very cognitively dissonant as to how to go about improving yourself. You don't do anything seriously. Whether we can talk passion, like obviously you have to have passion, but what is part of passion? Passion is taking something seriously. What is it to be a man? To be a man is to be serious. That if you had to reduce it down to something, men are serious. That's the difference between what's the difference between like a boy versus a man? When you're a boy, you're young, you have allowances, you can get away with things. What's the big break in maturation that happens at some point? It's when you have to take life seriously, when it comes down to you.
You had spoken about a while back, there's a tweet about ballet and how it was like, that's just what you did. There was no thought about it. And it made me step back. I'm like, all right, so what's my thing? I was thinking about, writing, helping men, I was like, what keeps me up? And there's been many nights where I've just been blindly, on Twitter, just talking to guys. And I'm like, I can't sleep. Like, I can't get this out of my head. I have to do this. It's as much as breathing, I have to do this. You hear that motivational speech where the guy is saying, keep walking into the water. And as soon as you want it as bad as you have to breathe, I think it's Eric Thomas. And you get pumped up hearing that. But I'm like, that's a real thing. Like, you have to do this. When you don't do it, it's like for me, it's my brain like starts to fill up. And it's just not right if I'm not writing or if I'm not talking or if I'm not engaging other people. That's just my thing. And it's what I have to do. And then, when you're talking about your ballet, it was similar. I was like, all right, that's your dance. That's something you had to do. I was like, that's really cool. Because some guys, they won't share whatever it is they want to do. I really want to build a rocket that's going to whatever. Go do that thing. You don't need approval. You don't need permission. You don't need shit. But if it's that thing that keeps you up when you think about it, if it's that thing that gets your heart racing, it gets the blood pumping when you start to talk to people about it, and you probably talk longer than you probably should about that subject, hang on to that. That's a part of something that makes you, and that's something that's going to bring that beast out. That's how you're going to show that passion.
That's the thing that you will make yourself better for, and it won't feel like work. It won't feel like a sacrifice. You'll do it because you have to do it because it's literally your life. Yeah, maybe if you lack for that, well, like a lot of guys, for a lot of guys, they are scared of themselves. They're scared of themselves. They're scared of whatever it is within them. If you never bring it out of yourself, then it shall destroy you.
Yep. So bringing this back around to dating single women. One thought
I forgot we had that.
No, dude, I love that conversation. But one thing I was thinking, and Alexander, you might have some more deep thoughts on this than maybe I put into this. But I was thinking about how so men, we kind of have this standard, at least in general. I think that from what we've discussed so far, all of us agree that, and you can chime in if I'm misinterpreting, but all of us agree that for a single man dating a single woman is not always the best idea, and definitely requires an extra level of scrutiny, an extra level of consideration. What do you think goes into the mind of a single woman in terms of dating a man with children?
I mean, there's two ways about this. You do have those single moms that sometimes they're still slutting it up. Yeah, I had a roommate once, a guy I lived with. I remember he had this hysterical story where he went to go single mom. He went to this gal's place, hooked up with her, and then she was like rushing him out of the house because she didn't want him to be there before his son woke up. And the whole thing was just he felt dirty doing it. He's like, this is just kind of weird. Because he went into her room and she had like a bunch of the kids' toys in the room. She's like, oh, sometimes my son sleeps with me because he's 5, blah blah. So he goes there, they bang it out, and then she's like, okay, you need to leave right now because my son wakes up at 7, like at 6, like get out of my house. So like a single mom, that I'm making the story nicer than it was. It was pretty detail rich when he told it. But single mom, that scenario, of women still slaying it up, like, yeah, she's probably not looking for anything. There are other single women that are just incredibly responsible. But the single moms I've met, it's for the ones I've known, it like I said, it ironically kind of red pills them since they start looking for, all right, I want a guy that really leads himself because I want someone I know is going to be strong enough to be a father and a husband. So they start looking for leadership. They start looking for like a very good financial provider. They start really looking for a guy that has his shit together. So that's their perspective. So I mean, and that's what part of it is what's bitter about it, because it forces these women to see, like, you know what, you actually need to go for a man, maybe for the first time, and like you were stupid, like you were a dumb girl. But like I said, they're in that position where, okay, well, I need a man, but I have a kid who's probably not going to want to be my man.
On the other hand, it almost sounds like you're saying a guy who's been chosen, I use that word in quotations, by the single mother can almost use that as a point of pride because it says something about him if she's willing to bring him into there.
Well, that's a trap that you don't want to fall into as a guy. Like, maybe she's telling you all this stuff. And, I mean, it could be a trap. It could be a trap. And not a trap, like, I don't know that you can characterize women as being malevolent. Women are just going to do what they want because they need to. That's one of the points of, hypergamy, being like solipsism, where like, oh, women are selfish. Women make themselves the center of the universe. They have to. They're not that big. You have to consider that in a primal situation. Let's say it's 10,000 BC. You're a female. The only way you are going to survive is if you get your men in your tribe to like you. You might probably have to sleep with one or two of them or the alpha. You're going to have to be pretty and persuasive. You being a bitch is not going to get you very far at all, since no one's going to want you around. And your mental origin point is absolutely going to be yourself, because you're dead if you don't do that. You have to be persuasive. I call it pre-persuasion. So the female way of being, it is at its essence, it is for their absolute survival, and that's not going to change. So you can't, taking that into account, you can't hold that against them. That's why for the guys that where they, some of the guys that you sort of like go down the black pill route and they get bitter about it. Where women will never really understand me. They're not supposed to. They're not supposed to, and they're not supposed to be in the role where they get you so perfectly. They're not. Because they're never going to be, because men are the one that provides the order in the first place. That is what masculinity is. It provides order and stability. If you have so many women in a village and the men are gone, guess what? They're going to get raped or killed, or they're just going to die because there's no one to breed in the first place. The patriarchy is ingrained into their DNA. So you are the mental, you are not their mental origin point, but you are their mental primacy point, whether they want to condition themselves out of that or not. No amount of feminism gets rid of that. It doesn't.
And it shouldn't, like you said. We can't be mad that women are women. You know, they think like women, they act like women. You can't expect them to think like men. I will not expect them to respond to me the way you two would respond to me in a conversation, in your thought patterns. I feel like I would understand your thoughts because that's how I would think. But when I talk to my wife, you know, I'm not in that same state because she is a woman. You know, I can't expect her to be Craig, you know. Throw a wig on, man, maybe.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I mean, that point has to be made. So, yeah, for the single mom things, I'm like, yeah, it might be highly manipulative, but what else would you expect? Yeah, if I was hypothetical, somehow single mom, somehow I mean, what else would I do? Like, I need to survive. So you're going to manipulate reality to suit you.
Yeah. Now, what are your thoughts, Alexander, on the guys who kind of take that route? They get really cynical about the nature of women, and they turn to MGTOW. What are your thoughts on that situation?
Yeah, I realize that there's just some guys that get burned so badly that they get burned so badly and it pushes them over the edge, and they have no desire to climb up. At the same time, too, I think there's a lot of men where it's hard for me to conceptualize, but I can sort of see it when I see guys interact. There are some men that they are just so grossly, vastly incompetent with women, and they are so grossly, vastly incompetent, honestly, themselves in so many ways that it's a headache for them. It's a headache, and it's an aggravation and a frustration point, and all it does is bring up bad memories of their bitchy mom and their shitty sisters and their, you know, cunty ex-wife and, you know, like whoever else. Every chick that, you know, they're kind of almost like, it's like the bare feminists where, yeah, like on a certain level, I can understand aspects of feminism. It's like the woman that's like, you know, my dad abandoned me, my uncle raped me, my stepdad beat me, you know, my first boyfriend, you know, cheated on me. You know,
I blame him at that point, right?
I got date raped, and now I'm 29 and I hate men. I'm like, you know what? Like,
I get it.
Like, I get it. Like,
I'm leaving you alone. Yeah.
Like you got hate in your heart. Fucking let it out. Like, I understand that, and I think that like there's an element to the MGTOW where like a lot of them are like they're in that same position. Like women, femininity just fucked them over so many times royally that no, they have no desire to try to reconcile with it. They don't. Yeah, they're happy off. They rather just literally be alone doing their thing. And on a certain level, I can respect that. I mean, yeah, I could go like sort of the self-righteous route. I'm like, you're not going to save the West, you know, all that bullshit. I'm like, okay, like you're not, okay, but is it understandable? Yeah, it's understandable.
I think when you look at the bell curve, you know, on the left, you've got the guys who, like you said, fit that description. On the right, you know, I heard a story by Ryan Stone where he said basically the dude got divorced and then like the ex like killed his dog or something, like shot his dog. And then like he went like a year like sabbatical of like hey, just no women. I was like, all right, you're on the other spectrum. I get it, man. Like I'd be pretty bitter too. But then there's that giant group right in the middle. And those are the guys who are like, I am not successful with women. Therefore, it's their fault and I'm staying away from them. Like, well, man, maybe you could work on you a little bit. You know, there's a little bit to that. So the MGTOWs who are pursuing a mission and having sex but no relationships, got it. The guys who are celibate because they're like, well, all women suck. Well, maybe it's you. You know, if everybody's the asshole that you meet, maybe you're the asshole.
That's a good way of saying it. That's a really good way of saying it.
We have some awkward silence here. I don't have any other points to make. I don't know if you have anything.
I was just mulling it over. I like it. There's a bell curve distribution. I mean, ultimately, you're going to have to choose yourself as a man, like what your own direction is. Like, yeah, that's why like Drew, like you've been the first guy like having the spear, which I mean, I haven't been in it that long. I got popular in the spear like past year. Yeah, I've talked about it before. Like I didn't discover like Rational Male, like Red Pill. It wasn't until I was like literally 20. It wasn't until like 2016 that I actually read the book. It was like, oh, this lines up with what I like my own observations. Same thing with like PUA like game stuff. Some fuckhead recently. I blocked him, so yeah, I don't remember. It was like you're a pickup artist. I'm like, I didn't read Pickup Artistry till literally like the last 6 months. I didn't I finally read like The Game by Neil Strauss. I read that book like in December, you know, which is funny because I actually had dinner with him. I didn't know who he was like months prior to that. But yeah, the reason I make that point is, you know, for myself, like I have my own direction, you know, that I pursue, and like that's given me clarity of being. You know, for any guy that, you know, wants to pursue his own direction, you know, it goes back to what we were talking about, you know, before. Like, okay, you have to have passion, you have to have something you take seriously. Yeah, then you decide for yourself, you know, how women are going to fit into your own trajectory. Yeah, you decide that. If that's to be a father, that's to be like, like Drew, you have the Kingsman quality, that's to be like a leader of men, then you run with that. If it's not to be that and you want to go Playboy route, by all means do so. But be honest in doing it. I think for some guys, they get sort of caught within like the temporal fantasy of like, like the Playboy route. And I don't say that to criticize, like guys like Christian at all. Like he's living it up and he's doing it the right way. But you have guys where, they've never been successful with women. So the idea of, having sex with a lot of them, like that's the fantasy, like that's the ultimate.
Yep.
But that runs out. Like that runs out. Like you're probably not going to be doing that when you're 50. You'll probably hit a point. And, I think that kind of happened with with Roosh, in a way where he had that. I think it was a Periscope some months back where he basically said, he's like, I'm single, I'm unmarried, I have no children, and all I have is internet fame. And I'm 37, 38 years old. Like I really don't have anything in life. I think he might have deleted it, but it was very brutally honest. And it's kind of like it was a good bad example of like, you could fuck 5,000 women. Okay, now what? Now what? What comes next? It's not a life plan. It's not being something. Like that's great. That's all. Like, good for you. You got 8,000 belts to hold up. What else though?
Yeah. I think it comes down to knowing what your mission is as you're going through life too. I mean, it sounds to me like he went down one path and now realizes that he probably didn't have the mindset that he should have had as he was going through his 20s and 30s. Sounds like you're mindful. You want to have a family at some point. You want to have children. And I imagine that's in the back of your mind as you're going through making your decisions on who to date and that kind of thing.
Oh, of course. But I think that's what masculine maturity is. It's when it's not only having your own, it's not just leading yourself, it's leading yourself towards something.
Yeah.
That's kind of the question that oftentimes you get with the younger guys, where even the older guys, like, well, how do I find, how do I develop myself? Like, which should I choose to do? Where do you want to go? If you have that orientation, then there will be a path that will be laid out for you. And it might be one that you make entirely yourself, but you'll have a path. Like what's north for you? What is north? You have to know that, or at least you have not know that in a terms of absolute certainty. Since there's always going to be vagueness. If you ask me, what's your long-term mission? My long-term mission is ballet and ballet and ballet. I want to have family. I want to have the financial means to fully support that situation. And I know that yes, I'm going to be within a leadership capacity for the far future. That's going to happen. Do I have a specific vision as to what that means as to what I'm doing in 2040? No, I don't.
You got to be married by 34, have 2 children by 36.
Yeah, but there's principles to it, and there's conditions to it, and I know what is leading me, and it makes my day-to-day decisions very clear. So I know where it is that I am leading myself, and then the what I just I figure out as I go along. If you have no sense of where at all, you have no direction that way. You don't have a north. You can get caught up in doing anything. Yeah. Then you probably, for a lot of guys, I think they fall in sort of like the the mental masturbation cycle of like the self-improvement game, the self-help. Yeah, you've read all the books. You like I had one guy come to me recently. I've read 50 books. I've read like 8,000 Reddit blogs. About whatever the hell a red pill. I still don't know what I want to do. I have no idea. There's no prescription for that. I sent back to him like, bro, I told him like I don't have an answer for you.
No one's doing something and figure it out.
Yeah, so you read 50 books, or who gives a fuck? Yeah. I look at the same question I said earlier. I'm like, is there anything that you do that you feel any sense of seriousness, passion, something? Is there anything that you've ever done that you take seriously, just where you do it because you feel like it should be a good job? Is there anything? I don't know. I've never thought about that. Well, then go fucking explore.
That's where the authentic development has to come in. While you're reading those 50 books, you've got to start while you're reading the book, looking at yourself. Who am I? What am I in this book? What am I taking from this? And as you take that authentic approach, everything else becomes a little bit easier. So I've been called from the most light bluest of blue pill to black pill to purple pill to red pill. I've been called fucking everything. And recently it's been the TradCon thing because I'm a married guy. So they're like, oh, you're all for marriage. Everybody should get married. I'm like, no, man. Like that's my thing. I'm not any fucking color pill. I'm not any con. I am just Hunter Drew. I am just, doing me. And do not follow me because it's not going to work for you. I'm doing my thing and I'm just talking to guys about how they can do theirs. Well, how can you follow Christian McQueen? He's a playboy because he's an authentic man. How can you bring up Goldman, all those guys? How could you possibly follow them? I'm like, because I'm not about marriage. I'm not about not marriage. I'm just about men being authentic. As long as you're real with what you're doing, you're cool in my book, because there's so few people that are like that. And if you want to live the Playboy lifestyle, as long as it's authentic, it's going to work out for you. You'll find a way to make that work because it's real. There's no fluff. There's no compensating. You're not trying to fill a void that was left by a lack of a parent or something, you know? And if you're like, well, I really do want to have a family, but the red pill told me I can't, or I was told I'm not allowed to get married, or I'm not allowed to have an LTR. Well, why are you letting strangers on the internet dictate your real life? Your real life is supposed to be way cooler than what's online. Like, I'm a cool dude online, and I'm much cooler in real life because it's just, that's when I get to be me with the kids, with the wife, you know, with my family. So whoever's listening right now, you know, don't be the next Craig, Hunter, or Alexander, and don't try to like fill that role because we're enjoying our lives. You've got to do it yourself. You've got to develop who you are. And if you're reading 50 books, during each book, you should be writing down or looking like, hey, how does that apply to my life so I can actually go out and live it instead of being addicted to reading about improvement. Like, it's acting on verb, deeds, not words. Don't just read the words. Do something with them.
Yeah, live it out.
Exactly.
Yep.
You summarized all that in 3 words.
Well, to that point too. Like I would say, for me, I'm not going to look for a single mother when it comes if I were to be single. But if you can do that and you want to own that and it works out for you, hey, I will never fault you for doing something that you feel you need to do for yourself. I agree. As long as you own it, you be authentic with it. Just go into it with eyes wide open, knowing what you're getting into, and be prepared.
I like how you keep us on topic.
I'm trying, man. You guys are making it hard, but I'm trying. I'm steering the ship best I can here, Hunter. No, these are good. No, these are good conversations, man.
You know, that's why I always say the live it out factor. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like, that's why I've almost become bullish on books lately. I mean, I read a lot, but okay, you read this, you follow this person, you are doing this. What are you actually living that you can show to me and say, like, yes, here's a principle and this is how I do it. You know, like you said, active non verba. If it's just stuff that you think, who gives a shit? It's stuff you think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we all think things. Doesn't mean anything.
Exactly. All right. I think that's it.
Yeah, we covered a lot.
That was a good one. I like that.
Yeah, it's a good conversation.
Dude, I'm addicted to these fucking seltzers. I killed the whole bottle while we were talking. This stuff's good.
What do you got there, man?
It's a coconut seltzer from Stop and Shop.
Okay.
Those are the 0-calorie flavored ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got these LaCroix.
LaCroix. How do you even say that?
Whenever I say LaCroix, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it or not. Yeah, LaCroix sounds cool. I might.
LaCroix? I don't know.
Wow.
It sounds fancy.
LaCroix.
LaCroix.
Yeah, those were real popular when I was in Florida. Like, this is in 2016. I was working like a very upscale community, but the LaCroix, I think, waters, LaCroix, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Those were really popular. They're really popular with the women because, you know, like, they're kind of flavored, but they're also 0 calorie. So you get some, you know, satiation.
I knew you were going to go there, man. Going to question my manhood over my choice of beverage.
Oh, no, I'm just saying, like, it tastes good. I just remember because I had a lot of clients where they're like the moms that drink, like wealthy, like, you know, women, husbands are wealthy. They're at home, got a bunch of leisure time. You know, they got someone take the kids to school, so they just drink all day and come to the gym, you know, and then it's like, oh, I'm not losing weight. And like, down a bottle of wine a day, you know, like.
You had a bottle of Pinot before you came here.
No, you did.
You heard it here. Craig James' drink of choice is the same as wealthy older women.
Get it. Live it out. Live it out.
I own it, baby.
Own it.
So, Alexander, before we drop off here, where can guys go to find you?
I mean, yeah. So, I mean, the best place, like I say it's constantly, like, email list. Like, I email every single day. And for the guys that are trying to, like, get in contact with me, reply to one of the emails. Like, the Twitter DMs have just gotten absurd at this point. It's you know, you can't really manage those. So, you know, the email list is the first one. The sign up is in the bio, obviously. Obviously, I'm on Twitter a lot, so there's always a running conversation going. Then I did also actually start a YouTube channel recently, which is like YouTube / Cortes. And the interview with Rollo is actually up today. That's also on YouTube. So I'm gonna be making more videos for this foreseeable future. But if there's any suggestions for topics, stuff like that, go watch them.
Cool. Fantastic. Well, thank you for coming on with us, man. It was a great discussion.
Well, thanks for having me, gentlemen.